Yo, what up, what up, what up, and welcome back to Pnoid News. Man, listen, all right, yo, look, okay. In case y'all didn't know, Krystal and Cigar, I have no idea who the fuck, what the hell his last name is, right, actually left the hill, right, which they were on a show called Rising, which I'll be honest with you, a lot of us watched, you know what I'm saying, because they were hit or miss. You know what I'm saying? Legitimately, they were hit or miss. You know what I mean? Here or there. They had some stories that I kind of actually enjoyed, you know what I mean, listening to. And they have a half decent perspective. But they done left the hill and started their own show on YouTube and went fully independent. Which I'm cool with. You know what I mean? Do what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm proud of them. Handle your business. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations on your success. They got 286,000 subscribers, right? And I'll be honest with you, though. Okay, their mentalities, and I think like Cigar thinks he's right wing. I don't think he's right wing in any way, shape, or form. Right? I think he's a leftist who, you know what I'm saying, has like a couple little right wing like sprinkles on him as far as things are really concerned. But in this video here, they talk about some economic shit. And I'll be honest with you, Tom Pease is going to punch him in the head with their nonsense. So, you know what I mean? Yo, let's listen to it. We're going to get into it. You know what I mean? We're going to break this down. Let's get down. Let's get into this.
Really, I mean, these comments from Art Laffer, great friend of the show. Just kidding.
Great friend.
Total enemy of the show.
Deep friend of the show.
Recent comments on Fox News talking about exactly who he thinks deserves a living wage. Let's take a listen.
Okay, Austin wants to talk about the current McDonald's CEO, Kemczynski. He's noting that artificial intelligence technology has 85% accuracy with filling orders, with workers having to step in for approximately 1 in 5 orders. It's going to be a big leap, he says, to go from 10 restaurants to 14,000 restaurants. But there is no doubt they are working in that direction, Art.
Yeah, for those people, Sandra, who are coming into the labor force brand fresh, not old timers who've been around for a while, the poor, the minorities, the disenfranchised, those with less education, young people who haven't had the job experience, these people aren't worth $15 an hour in most cases. And so therefore, when you have a $15 an hour minimum wage, they don't get that first job. They don't get the requisite skills to earn above the minimum wage. And after a few years, they become unemployable, and after becoming unemployable, they become hostile. And that what you'll find happening is this technology has created an underclass of people who are really just bid out of the labor market and will remain out of the labor market for most of their lives. And this, I think, is just a tragedy. I love the technology, but the technology is replacing the jobs for these people. And it's a killer. It's a killer for just the people who need the help the most.
I mean, it's an incredible, it's the whole thing is.
I love how he was like the poor, the minorities, the young. I was like, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The less educated.
Okay, so let's talk about this, right? Because this is kind of important as far as things are concerned. First off, Arthur Laffer, right? He's a guy who came up with the Laffer curve, right? Which is basically a way of standing here saying, well, there's a certain point of taxation, right, where you'll end up you'll start killing the economy. And this, you know what I mean, kind of breathes into MMT as far as things is really concerned. It's about the plumbing of the system, you know what I mean? And he goes from a moral aspect more than from a technical aspect as far as, you know what I mean, looking at like how the system actually works as far as dollars moving around inside of the system is concerned. But this, you know what I mean, is like, it's a highly important part of our, you know what I mean, daily lives to understand that like there's a certain level of taxation that, you know, you just can't do without like people just not investing, right? Because you have to like remotely make it worth the time to be able to do so. You know, like you're not going to stand here and risk everything in your life if there's not a massive payoff. You know, like guys like, you know, me or somebody or just a regular individual who wants to start a business and become successful or create a new product or do all that work, you're not going to do it if you don't have this payoff. Now, in the video, though, they were talking about AI and, you know, I mean, you know, standing here killing jobs for poor individuals. And it's absolutely true, right? And these two here are highly upset about the fact that he said that regular people aren't worth $15 an hour. And that's an absolute fact, right? When you first start working, if you're not producing $15 an hour worth of revenue for a company, then the company's not going to hire you, is kind of the deal. And that's why this is important. But let's keep going.
Poor, minorities, disenfranchised, or disadvantaged, I can't remember which word to use, and the young aren't worth $15 an hour. Aren't worth. That's the language that he used.
Yeah,
They're not worth it.
Well, yeah. You know what I mean? Because they're not worth it. Right? Legitimately, like, yo, you're not worth $15 an hour. If you don't produce, and it's not even just 15, if you don't produce like, you know what I mean, like $80 an hour, really, because like, first off, you have to, you know what I mean, like produce a good, right? Secondly, that original 15 isn't actually 15, right? Because you add in, you know what I'm saying, the workers' compensation insurance, you add in, you know what I'm saying, the health insurance, you add in the 401k stuff, you add in, you know what I mean, human resources, you add in the cost of your uniform, you add in, you know, like all the nonsense that goes into keeping an employee, right? You know what I mean, taxes, books, all this shit, right? Because it's expensive to, you know what I mean, employ people. It really is. You know what I mean? And like, you know, if I have to lay you off, you know what I mean, then I'm going to have to, you know what I mean, pay $10,000 for, you know what I'm saying, workers' comp or workers or unemployment insurance, right? At least in my state, that's how it works, right? In Pennsylvania, right? And so if you're not producing a certain amount of money per hour, then you're not worth $15 an hour. It's kind of, that's the basic premise. Right. And if AI can stand here and do the jobs of the individuals who used to make $7 or $8 or $9 an hour, then it's not worth employing an individual to do that job. Right. Like if it costs me less in the long run to have a robot, you know what I mean, that's what I'm going to do. And this is kind of the problem that we're running into with a lot of these jobs where, you know, you may not be worth $15 an hour because like, you know, like a robot will make, you know what I'm saying, your job basically worth less than that. You know, because that's all you'll produce. Like you won't produce any value to that company. And that's, you know what I mean, I think like she's getting it confused with saying, you're not worth $15 an hour. You're not worth anything. Like that's not what the dude's saying in any way, shape, or form. He's saying that like, you know, you're not producing that much money for the company. And that's important to understand, right? Like, you know, because this isn't some like giant corporation versus the little people. That's not what it is at all. It's more along the lines like, you know, if it's not profitable to employ you, why would I employ you? You know, I mean, as a basic, that's just the basic premise right there. You know, I mean, let's keep going though.
This is your brain on Reaganomics. I mean, this is what it is. And this here, I mean, I know it may seem gratuitous to dunk on Larry Kudlow and on Art Laffer. These are the mainstream brains within the Republican Party. I want people to understand that. Art Laffer was literally advising the president of the United States
during
as
COVID.
recently as.
But Andrew Yang said the same thing, and y'all worshipped Andrew Yang when he said it. He literally said the same thing. He said, look, you know what I'm saying? Like AI is literally going to take away, like AI is going to destroy all these $15 an hour jobs. Right? He flat out said, he said like, yo, people aren't worth $15 an hour if I can, you know what I mean, make it from, you know what I'm saying, less with a computer or a robot. Right? Andrew Yang said the same exact shit. They're not the mainstream brand of like the Republican Party. They're the economists. They're the individuals who are telling you this is how this works. Right? And I don't care whether or not you like it. Right? And I hate that fucking smug look on that bitch's face. Right? But like, yo, look, you may not like it, but it's the truth. That's the issue. It's the truth. The truth is if you're not producing enough money for a company to profit off of you, right? Because like, yo, you're not going to, all right, I'm not going to hire a guy. If I'm a construction, if I work in construction, I'm not going to hire a guy, right? If he's not going to be able to hang drywall proficiently enough that I can bid and make money for the company and pay his paycheck at the same time. Because you know what? I have to put money in my pocket too. That's the whole point of employing somebody, is to produce more goods so that you can stand here and end up having the opportunity to profit. It's that simple. If there's no profit in it, there's no point in doing it. You don't hire people you don't need. It's a very basic premise. Like, why is this so difficult for these individuals to understand?
6 months ago, 7 months ago, during COVID, for all of the CARES Act, the rescue packages, opposition to the stimulus bills, Art Laffer, Stephen Moore, and Larry Kudlow, the three of them together worked incessantly to make sure that the American people delivered or got less aid while Trump was in the White House. Now, look, I'm not blaming.
Yo, look, and here's the problem, right? Our government is trash, right? In the end of the day. Because the rest of these governments, like everybody's like, look at what Switzerland and Denmark and all these places did. I mean, they gave out UBI. No, they didn't. Right? They were like, yo, if you lost your job, we'll take care of you. They didn't just give out money to everybody. That's not how that worked. They didn't just give fucking money to everybody. Nobody did that. No one just said, here, everybody gets a check. They said, like, yo, if you fucking hurting, we'll take care of you. Because their governments are fucking, like, competent. Our government is incompetent. So what we did was we just turned on the spigot and gave everybody money. Like, motherfuckers got an extra, you know what I mean, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, depending on how many fucking kids you have, right? Even if you didn't lose your job. Even if you did better during the pandemic. Like, I did better during the pandemic than I did, you know what I'm saying, before the pandemic. Right? Legitimately, I made more money last year than I made a year before that. Right? And I got extra checks. Like, legitimately, I got extra money. That shouldn't have happened. Right? I didn't need that fucking money. It was nice to have, but I didn't need it. And now you end up having everything is inflated and inflation's running through the fucking roof like all these people said it would, right? And you're standing here going, oh, they should have never said that, blah, 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 blah. That's fucking dumb. That is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Legitimately. Right? Like, why is it that you're standing here like saying that, like, yo, the government wasn't too generous? Because it was. Right? Like, yo, this is the problem with the news, right? And this is the problem with media. They don't understand the issues that they're talking about, right? Like, I studied incessantly on MMT. I've read like fucking 30 books on this shit. Like, I've stood here and, you know what I mean, done this work so that I can talk about this competently, right? And even then, I'm still wrong sometimes. But let's be honest here, right? These news media individuals are always fucking wrong. Like, constantly. They're wrong all the fucking time. And they don't understand the basics of any of the economic shit that they're talking about. Like, if they had any idea who Art Laffer was, they wouldn't be talking like, oh, he's the enemy of the show. No, he's just a dude. He's like, hey, look, man, I do math. That guy does math for a fucking living. That's what he does. He's a mathematician. That's what, like, most of these, like, academic, you know what I mean, corporate economists are. They're mathematicians for a living, right? That's what the guy does. And he studies geopolitics and, you know what I'm saying, trends and human capital, right? And it's garbage that these individuals here go, oh, man, you know, he's da-da-da-da-da. And I get the fact, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, I say the same thing. Like, I feel the same way about guys like Fauci and a lot of this other managerial nonsense, right? But the thing is, when it comes to money, right, it's numbers. And numbers are doable. You can make numbers work. The rest of this shit isn't numbers. The rest of this shit is human behavior and psychology and us trying to dictate how the culture of the country moves. It's actually, you know what I'm saying, fucking with the societal aspects of our country as a whole that I get pissed off about. You know, when you're interfering in families and changing the dynamics of how families work inside of this country because, you know, you want to garner votes is bullshit. And when we talk about economics, we're just talking about like, yo, look, this is the plumbing and how the hell money works inside of the system, right? Because money is just a tool. It buys this, it buys that. You know what I'm saying? You exchange it for goods and services, right? What do you value? What's important? You know what I'm saying? What are we trying to accomplish here? Like, how much money do we need to do this? Well, you know, if we do this, it's going to raise it over here. You know, we're going to have inflation on this side, and it's going to affect this. This is important mentalities to understand. Anyway, yo, look, man. I wanted to bring y'all this, and I'm done, like, listening to these two fucking talk on this fucking subject, because I already heard it yesterday. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to see the full video. Anyway, yo, look. Tom Peace with Pnoid News. You know the deal. Make sure you like this video so the algorithm, you know the deal. Peace.